This episode is brought to you by Fortis Mentis Psychiatry, where Black and Brown girls can find individual therapy, mindfulness and meditation coaching, medication management, and case management. To learn more, go to fortismentispsychiatry.com/safe place. Hey girl, welcome back to Safe Place for Brown Girls. I'm your host, Dr. Kathleen Jude Estime, a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and this is the space where we talk about healing, mental health, and growth. And we especially talk about it in the space and the context of women of color who are ready to break generational patterns and prioritize themselves. Today's episode is powerful. We're talking about what healing really looks like when you're juggling real life, work, caregiving, transitions, and all the pressures that come with being a strong Black or brown woman. And we're joined by someone who's doing this work in a grounded, holistic, and culturally affirming way. Rikki McCoy is a therapist, yoga practitioner, and founder who blends traditional therapies with somatic healing, energy work, and honest conversations. She's here to help us rethink self-care, explore our bodies, and hold trauma, and give ourselves that space and permission to thrive, even in the messy middle of life transitions. And before we dive in, I want to remind you that if you're going through a tough time and you need someone to talk to, I'd love to help. You can book a private session with me at fortismentispsychiatry.com/help or click the link in the show notes. You don't have to navigate it alone. Now let's get into it. Hey, Rikki, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm great. Can't be better. Tell me about Joshua Tree.
And Joshua Tree has been really peaceful. I get to come out here and practice self-care in the desert and do my nature therapy. So it's been great.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't know that there was desert in Joshua Tree.
Yes. It's desert. It's beautiful to look at.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about self-care.
Yes.
And you are the queen of self-care.
Yes. Self-care is my jam.
How did that start for you? Tell me how that started for you.
How that started for me is just my own personal journey when it comes to stress management, work-life balance, right? So I got into just wanting to show up as my best self, really realizing how stress showed up for me in my body. And that started my journey on self-care and really finding out like how to self-soothe.
Oh, wonderful. And tell me, what does self-soothing look like?
Yes. So for me, self-soothing looks like being able to regulate the mind and the body. So when we're going through stressful moments, whether they be good moments or bad moments, right? Knowing how to bring yourself back to the center.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing self-care now for the past 10 to 12 years. Yeah.
Now, does self-care look different for different people?
It does. Yeah. I would say self-care is very personalized, right? So when I'm working with someone, I want to make sure that the self-care plan that we come up with is individualized just for them.
And how does this impact women of color?
Yes. So women of color, we've been like culturally, we learn certain things, whether it's, being a strong Black woman, always being on the go, not really liking to ask for help. And so what I like to do is teach us how to take care of ourselves, teach us how to ask for help, how to regulate our minds and bodies, and really break some of those cultural norms that we may have learned as we learn new way of being.
Oh, wonderful. And what are some new ways that women of color might be able to, how does it translate?
Yeah, so I have a trauma focused lens. So what I'm able to do is come in and educate on why this is beneficial. So we build that trust, right? Trust is really big. And you really give an example of what it looks like to do the work every day. So by me showing the self-care routine, my personal experience, my journey, it really creates like a safe space for people to open up and try new things.
Okay. And tell me about your personal journey. How did this you lead to this?
Yes. So growing up, I always wanted to be a therapist and help people and really help people when it comes to mindset and perspective. And so that's how I got into therapy. And then self care, I got into in college around anxiety, like my own personal anxiety, learning how to
Mhm.
self soothe. That's where the yoga and some of the holistic modalities came from. And so I'm like,
Oh,
how cool would it be to introduce women of color to some of these modalities?
so Ricky, what does it look like when we don't prioritize self-care in our communities?
Yes. So, what that could look like is stress showing up in our bodies, and we may not be paying attention to some of the signs and symptoms, right? So, body aches, tightness, tension, different heart disease, right? High blood pressure. Like these are some of the signs and symptoms of stress. And if we don't know, then we don't know what kind of self care to do. So, it's really all about learning your body, learning how you show up, irritabilities, right? Sadness, adrenaline, like some of these things that are happening in the background, so that you can make the connection of how we may need to change some patterns and show up differently in our self care.
Okay, wonderful. And so can you break down the different forms of self-care?
Yes, I can. So you have physical self care, which is how you take care of your physical body, right? So that could be hydration all the way up to certain medications or supplements that we take to making sure we have a good nighttime routine for sleep. And then you have emotional self care, which is how we take care of the emotional self. We're processing the feelings, we're learning how we feel so that we can communicate in a healthy way how we feel. That could be through talk therapy, that could be through journaling, writing, some of those different ways that we get those emotions out. And then you have psychological self-care, which is, keeping a to-do list, having good time management skills, doing some of these things so that we know what we're doing with our day and we have realistic expectations on what we have time for and what we don't. And so I love this one because we're always busy and on the go, but I'm teaching people how to make time for self-care on their calendar so that they see that it's realistic. So that's a big one.
Absolutely.
That's a big one.
Absolutely.
Yes, then you have spiritual self-care, and that could look like whatever your spiritual practices might look like, right? So we get a little creative with that one. For some people, it is religious based, so they may do like prayer or meditation. For me,
Mhm.
that's where the yoga can come in as well, teaching people how to move their body and release emotions through that yoga practice. Through being outside in Mother Nature can also be spiritual self-care, all the way up to crystal therapy, Reiki, right? Being
Mhm.
able to learn more about energy work and those kind of things. So that would be spiritual self-care. And then professional self-care. So making sure that you use your PTO, take time off, delegate if you need to. Like we don't have to be the one doing everything. So you want to be able to delegate and take off because the to-do list will always be there when you come back. So,
Absolutely. That's
yeah.
so right. That's so true. That's so
Yes.
true. Now, Ricky, how do you help clients reframe the guilt around resting?
Yes. So what I like to educate on is the fact that taking care of yourself and prioritizing rest is a necessity. So it's like you really don't have a choice. So I need you to think about it as if we don't have a choice, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, how can we show up in the world and all the different roles that we play? Right? So
Absolutely
if you're
right.
not taking care of yourself, mind and body, there's no way you can really show up as your full self in the things that you're doing. So how about let's make some time? Let's be realistic about maybe how much time we have, but we can do something.
And Ricky, why do you feel yoga is more popular among women of color?
Yes, I think it definitely helps when you have someone of color that that looks like you, that represents you.
Mhm.
It makes it easier to go to class. It makes it easier for you to try something new. But I feel like we're open to new ways. We're open to new ways of self care now. That self care is being talked about so much, and we're willing to give it a try. I feel like we're really ready to give it a try. whether it's talk therapy or yoga or, the different modalities that our ancestors really have been doing all these years, right? We're just really
Mhm.
bringing them back out full circle.
Okay, so tell me more about our ancestors. How did our ancestors use modalities such as yoga?
Yes. So our ancestors, if we were to do like the history of yoga, right? Some of
Mhm.
our ancestors, black and brown women, have been doing yoga for centuries. And so
Mhm.
like we're really tapping back into some of those modalities that they did back in those days, whether it's yoga or like narrative therapy, like we like to tell our stories, right? Through storytelling and those kind of things. Music therapy. So being able to utilize some of the same modalities that we've been using through music, whether it's certain instruments, right?
Mhm.
Certain healing circles where we came together in our neighborhoods for healing, and that whole it takes a village. Like we were doing some of these same modalities. We may see our ancestors, our grandma doing herbal therapy, right? Having certain herbs or certain remedies in the kitchen when you're sick or those kind of things. So these are all spiritual, sacred um, modalities that our ancestors have been doing.
Oh, wonderful. So, Ricky, what are some common fears or roadblocks you see when women, especially women of color, face big transitions?
Yes, I think a lot of us fear starting over, right? The idea of starting over, the shame. I see a lot of shame and guilt with starting over, with not being able to keep the tradition, whether it's like, and you get married forever in that marriage and it got, nothing can happen. You got to stay in it, you got to stick through it, and your peace is really not prioritized. And
Mhm.
so now a lot more women are prioritizing their peace when it comes to starting over, right? Like you can regroup. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to outgrow certain things that we might have learned in our culture. Um, Same thing with like marriage or like religion too. Like what we learned growing up when it comes to religious practices, and what if you want to try something different or learn your own way, right?
Mhm.
It's that fear of being rejected, maybe, like not really being accepted as you are on your own authentic journey. And so that's
Wonderful.
one of the things. Yeah,
Uh-huh. That's amazing. And so, how do you guide your clients to move through these changes with grace and self-confidence?
absolutely. I'm really big on the mind, body, and spirit connection, right? So I want to know and I want to work with you on learning who you are at the core of yourself, right? And how you can utilize the different self-care practices to really live a life that makes you feel good at the core. And so that may look different than your family. They may look different than what you learned, but it's okay to walk your own path. So we're building a lot of confidence around what we feel in our core, listening to our intuition and listening to where we're being guided on our journey.
So, what does confidence look like, especially in women of color?
Yeah, so it may look like learning how to trust your gut, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's like really learning how to pay attention to your body, tune into what your body is telling you about a situation, leaning
Mhm.
into your intuition and your emotional self, despite what society may be saying or despite what we might have learned, right? So it's really, really listening to what feels good to you and going
Mhm.
against that.
Oh, and not going against that.
Right. Not being afraid of rejection, not being afraid of what the outcome is.
Wonderful. And tell me, do you have any personal stories of confidence?
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to self-care, right? When it comes
Yeah, yeah.
to family boundaries is a big one. I feel like in our culture too. So it's like really learning how to protect
Mhm.
myself despite where I come from, despite the family dynamics, right? Acknowledging that it may not have been the best experience. And how can I walk my path and do what I want to do to be happy in my life despite what my family says?
So, Ricky, go deeper into the family dynamics.
Yes, so I know a lot of people can relate to like I'm from a small town, and so you go against a lot of norms when it's like, oh well, I don't want to live here. Like I want more. I want to have variety. I want to have more options. So like I was the first person in my family to go to college, to move out of town, to move out of state, right? And so I'm going against the grain with starting my life because I knew what I wanted and what I needed to be happy. And
Mm.
so despite that, despite not having family or friends where I moved to, I did it anyway. And so I did what was in my heart despite what my family wanted for me to do. And it's not always easy. That's like starting over, right? Starting a whole new
Mhm.
support circle, accepting the fact that family may or may not come visit you because you're the one that moved away, right? All of these different things that we would assume people would be happy for. But remembering that I did this for me. Like I did this life for me. I'm living it on my terms and it comes with some consequences.
And you've got one life to live. Live it
And
to
you
the
have
fullest.
absolutely, absolutely.
What does living to the fullest mean to you?
To me, it means traveling, just being able to go to different places where I feel peaceful, right? I'm really into like nature therapy and being outside and like seeing different parts of the world and doing my yoga. Really having a peaceful morning routine is like a non-negotiable for me now. Being able to work on my own terms. Like I want to have my slow morning and ease into my day versus the hustle culture and being like just thrown into my day. I want to do things that are soothing to my nervous system, right? I'm calm, I'm at ease, I'm not in like survival mode. And so for me, that's huge for me, whatever that looks like.
Does your family understand?
I think they're learning to. They're learning
Mhm.
to because I'm sticking to it. It's like how people say you stand on business, right? Like I'm
Oh,
standing on
okay.
about what I want and what I represent. So yes.
What are some of the pushbacks that you've gotten from your family?
I think a big one is with food. So like the whole soul food, like feeding the soul. But I know I need to eat for like my mental health and my well-being. And so I may not eat some of the food that they cook. I may go to the grocery store and get my own food, like those kind of things. So it's like, oh, like you're like almost like you're better or you're like at this different standard
Oh.
of life. But I have to remind them that if that's how they look at it, then I am because I'm choosing healthier practices for
Mhm.
myself.
Self-care, self-care,
Mhm.
absolutely. So what advice would you have for a sister who's listening?
To listen to her heart, right? What are the things that you enjoy doing as a little girl? So for me, I've always enjoyed being outside. I've always enjoyed music, for example. Music is definitely a part of my self-care routine, but I'm getting all into it. Like romanticize your life, like make your life the most enjoyable love experience. It's like a self-love journey, learning to love
Mm.
yourself first before you can love anything or anybody. So you romanticize every experience. You take it to the next level. You wear the silk robes and do the best skincare routine because you care about your skincare, right? So do it for you first before you do it for anybody else.
Amazing, amazing. And if our brown girls want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so everything is therapy with Rikki. Rikki is Rikki. So therapy with Rikki on Instagram, YouTube, website, everything.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. It was really nice talking to you, Rikki.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Rikki, for sharing your wisdom, your healing energy, and your story with us. From realistic self-care to trauma-informed yoga to reclaiming who we are doing this life and transitions. This conversation was full of the kind of medicine we need more. If you'd like to connect with Rikki, you can find her at therapywithrikki.com and follow her on Instagram. We've dropped all her links in the show notes below. So go show her some love and let her know you heard her on Safe Place for Brown Girls. And sis, if you're feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, or like you're carrying too much on your own, this is your sign to take a breath and prioritize your healing. You don't have to hold it all alone. Whether it's stress, anxiety, trauma, or just needing space to breathe again, I'd like to support you. And you can book a session with me at fortismentedpsychiatry.com/help, and we'll walk through it together. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Fortis Mentis Psychiatry and connect with me personally at Dr. Kathleen Jude Estime on LinkedIn. And subscribe to this channel on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, this is your safe place and you're always welcome here. This episode was brought to you by Fortis Mentis Psychiatry, where Black and brown girls can find individual therapy, mindfulness and meditation coaching, medication management, and case management. To learn more, go to fortismentispsychiatry.com/safe place.